Yeah.
I was in Brussels this week, and man, was the crowd rowdy. Like, I don't remember the last time seeing a crowd that was quite as rowdy as that. It's
Is
always
that
international.
yeah, well, they're probably starved for wrestling. This is the first Raw there as well. I found like a lot of the chants, what were they like soccer chants or something?
So, that or highly inappropriate chants as well. Some of them I also didn't understand. They might have been in just like in a different language.
Yeah, there
I
was a
don't
lot
know
of
what language they speak in Belgium.
French. I think it's French. Hopefully it's French, or else we look like complete idiots today. But that's okay. That's the
I
whole point
love
of
the
it.
start time. I kind of forgot about it, and so I watched it at like 6, and it was already completed, and so I was able to go through it. It was great. Like I watched it before dinner.
Nice.
Now, I'm looking forward to do that again next week because it's in Scotland and starts at 4.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I don't like I don't want to get spoilers beforehand or anything. And if I go on YouTube, I'll see a thumbnail and I'll be like, ah, try not to look at it and try and find something else.
It's
So
dangerous.
it can be dangerous if you're browsing sites and stuff. But overall, yeah, the crowd was hot. I like the arena too. The arena looked interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like raised. It was like that's so interesting that you're saying that. I have a note here that says it immediately has an awesome atmosphere. It felt like it was like Roman times and that was a Colosseum because it was like
Yeah.
stacked and it went up like in a different way that we don't see. Like as like it's optimized for everyone's viewing experience. Like I'm not sure there's a bad seat in the house.
Yeah, I wonder like just the structure of the arena is different. I wonder if that's because of the older architecture there, but regardless, it was really cool to see. It looks like an old arena. The backstage segments with all the spray painted areas, I thought that looked pretty cool too.
I agree.
So there must be a lot of history at this arena overall. But man, I don't know, do you want to talk about the opening segment? And I'm kind of glad
Yeah.
they opened with this. This was
Let's
cool.
do it. But even before that, I wanted to just point something out, and I don't know if this is a consistent trend or not. But did you notice that like the announcers didn't talk at all during this segment? And when I think back historically, like I didn't even think about it in the later talking segments. I wasn't even thinking about whether the announcers were speaking or not. But like if you go and I think back to like when JR and the King were doing Raw, like they would talk all the way, like someone coming down to the aisle, and then when they're not, there's always talking. If there wasn't talking in the ring, the announcers were talking. But here, Corey Graves and Michael Cole were dead silent for the duration of the entire segment.
I think that was good as
Me too.
well.
I liked it a lot. It's not necessary. They're there to comment on the wrestling.
They didn't need to comment. Like the seeing Cena come out, that's enough. You're building suspense. You're building suspense to what he's going to say. You don't need to talk about it or bring it up. The video packages they've been doing for weeks on end. We've seen it all. Everybody on the planet has seen this now.
We've seen it all.
We're just waiting. We're just waiting for Cena, and them not talking helps us build suspense as viewers, I think. Also, Corey Graves is back. That's cool.
Wow. Pat can only make so many dates. There was Wade Barrett not that many long ago.
Yeah, but
I
Corey was
personally,
out of the company.
I don't know. He went to NXT.
Remember he sent that tweet saying that well, he quit NXT.
Really?
Yeah, and he had like it looked like a public falling out. Like he said some stuff on
I don't even
Twitter.
think I knew that.
I think this is his first show back. I was kind of surprised to see him here. I thought he was done with the company.
Well, good. Score Graves is a good announcer, and I prefer they keep him. I like Graves and I like Barrett. I'm
I
not a
like
big
that.
McAfee guy.
I like that there was this show felt a little different because the announce team changed. There wasn't a huge focus on the announcers. I don't know if you feel like this, but we've been talking about the announcers for a couple of weeks. That we shouldn't be. We should be talking about the content and the performers and the matches and the segments. But the announcers are actually coming up quite a bit. And I don't think that this week there's a lot to talk about because they didn't take the spotlight from anybody. They were just doing their job as announcers. And I thought it was a better setup this week than previous weeks on Netflix.
Agreed. Minus maybe Michael Cole calling John Cena a prick.
I like that your lamp like slowly moved into the
You notice? I'm working on getting my better lighting going here.
I'm working on trying to look at this camera.
This is what it's like.
Yeah.
You realize that you got to
Man.
have light shining right in your face to make it all. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
let's get started. Obviously, I've got a lot to say on this, as I'm sure you do. I'll kind of go through a couple of my notes. Obviously, Cena got a massive reaction. It's
mm,
interesting that everyone's just adapting to the turn. You know, like after Austin's turn, he was got huge ovations for a couple of weeks after,
yeah.
and then it didn't turn into booze. It just kind of turned into nothing. And there was he took his time, he milked it. I thought that it was very interesting that he came out to the same music with the same clothes. Like
Yes.
it makes you wonder if like the rumors about this being a last minute decision, because apparently The Rock originally wanted Cody to turn. And so
Right.
then John went along with it. They had already produced all this merch, so they must know that they're going to take a little hit on that and that it was worth it, and that they're still going to be rolling this with the same merch in each town, because they must have a ton of it already produced,
Yeah.
right? So they just were just like, let's just go overall with this. And I'll give you a second to chime in here, but just like overall, and we can discuss the very specifics. I didn't like what they did with this. I felt that, and Cody kind of nailed it at the head when he came out, but like this just didn't feel right. Like the fact that Cena hadn't won in so long, and that he's been losing matches, and that maybe he wants an opportunity to become the 17-time champ, and people won't remember his behavior, but he'll just be known as the greatest ever, and he did what he had to do, and he doesn't regret it, and you know, I was hoping he'd kind of play that more, but just kind of coming in and going after the fans like that, and saying that this was their fault, and I just don't think that angle resonated that much, and I don't think it would have mattered what he said. He would have gotten a lot of heat overall, but I really wish they had done this in a different way. And there's still time to do that, but overall, like him yelling at the fans and blaming them and saying that this is their fault, that didn't work for me, brother.
Fair enough. I kind of like that he came out in the same gear and same music, and the way he's acting, it makes it feel like he's almost just he has sold his soul. He has had the life sucked out of him almost. He has no enthusiasm or happiness in him. It's all been taken away. But he comes out to the same music and wearing the same clothes and having no enthusiasm when he's holding up his little towel thing, towel merch. I found that kind of interesting. I think that's a cool character dynamic. And he doesn't like if he came out with like new gear and new music, I think it would take away from the heel turn. It almost seems like he reluctantly turned heel on his way to the ring anyways, when he had those expressions on his face, or lack of expressions, I guess. The crowd was into this. It was interesting to see that they were primarily booing. A lot of the heel turns or the heel wrestlers, of course, get tons of cheers and a huge ovation sometimes, which isn't great, especially in odd towns like Montreal or some overseas towns. They really go wild for heels. But Cena
Uh-huh.
getting the boos, I thought it was great. I mean, he's doing a great job as a heel. Even people that like Cena and think he's doing great work now, I guess the smart fans, you would call them, they can't cheer him. They gotta boo him. That's great. I guess I tend to agree with you on. I wish there was more about him having that losing streak and just needing to do something about it, and that's why he turned heel, as opposed to this, turning on the fan angle. I'm gonna let it play out. I mean, they did such a masterful job with the heel turn, and I think the promo, him speaking and his connection with the audience is so strong, and he was pulling them, you know, into a few different directions, and I kind of like where it wound up. I like the segment overall, and I think I'm just gonna wait to see what happens before I make any judgment calls, because I don't know. I just have to. I feel like I have to give them that respect because they did such a good job with the heel turn. They must know what they're doing here.
Yeah, I think that if the crowd made up for a lot of this, and so I mean it's not like Cena was the only one getting this sort of response. Like it was a very rowdy crowd all night, and I didn't like the way that it was going overall. I think Cody really saved it with what he said, but it's still kind of like it's when Cody called him a whiny bitch. I was just like, that's really true. That's what he sounds like, and sounds like he's a shell of himself and all of that stuff. But there's still a lot to kind of like answer, like why, like okay, you're turning the fans, and then why did you align with The Rock? Like, what is the purpose of this? Is he now going to help you in your match at WrestleMania, or that's what's going to play out? And so, like, I'm there for it as well. I want to see what happens. Just I don't think they can repeat kind of more of what they have, and I also just hope that this isn't something where, we don't see The Rock again until the one more time before WrestleMania, because like the turn was kind of supposed to be them aligning together. And that's so we'll have to see what happens. Did you see the shot of the one kid? I don't even know how to describe it. He just looks so uncomfortable. They did like a close up of him. I felt bad for him. He was decked out in Cena stuff, and it was when Cena was talking to the people that are cheering for him, and it just kind of looked like the kid didn't even want to be at the event. And honestly, this segment made me wonder if this turn was a mistake. It was weird. And I thought about it too, and like I just want you to think about this for a second. When Hogan turned heel, what was it, 1997 or 1998? 98?
6.
96. Okay. And so wrestling caught on around like Hulkamania or whatever in 84. So that's 12 years
Mhm.
of Hulkamania when he turned heel. And then when Austin turned heel in 2001, it was 5 years of the Texas Rattlesnake. Cena has been doing this character since like Thugonomics has been gone for a while, since like 2005, for like
Yeah.
20 years. And it was very weird to watch, like, bordering on uncomfortable to watch, because I was just like, it was uncomfortable overall.
Yeah, so maybe this is the thing. Maybe this whole breakup angle they're doing is him trying to save the fans in a way, because he just has to do this and he doesn't want the fans to be hurt, so he's breaking up with them, making them not want him in a way.
Because
You
of his
know,
retirement?
yeah, I don't know. Like maybe there's something there. Like in sitcoms and movies, sometimes people break up with people because what's the Seinfeld thing? It's not you, it's me. So maybe there's something there. Like maybe he's trying to like make the fans not like him because he doesn't like himself anymore. Maybe that's where they're kind of going with this. And then maybe by the end
Maybe.
of his run, he finds himself again, and becomes the biggest face of all time.
Or I assume something like that will happen at the end. But in all of this, they advertise it as under the same roof and the same night, as if there was going to be some sort of like confrontation that took place. But there wasn't really. There's no like pull apart or anything. And now they're just advertising the same thing for next week.
Well,
So SmackDown, or sorry, Raw is going to be Cody and Cena in the building at the same time again. So like, what's really different this week? Is Cody going to come out and be like, "Well, bring out the old John Cena," or
yeah, there's no part of me that thought that there was going to be any sort of brawl or hands thrown in this segment. I definitely knew it was just going to be like a speaking segment, talking segment. Yeah, for next week, they maybe this is when The Rock comes back.
in Scotland? No way.
I
Dwayne wouldn't accommodate an international audience like that.
I don't know, but you're right though. What could they do here? What else could they do?
They got
Honestly,
to do they got to do something else. Like you'd think that they are gonna like The Rock's gonna overstep his authority and insert himself, and then Triple H has to get involved. But again, like there still is lots and lots of time. Like I believe there's at least 4 Raws, because it's a month from now, April 19th and 20th. So there's at least 4 more. I think there's 4 more weeks after this week.
I quite like the slower build too. Like, because we were seeing the opposite with the heavyweight championship.
Uh-huh.
So I don't mind that there was like no actual physical confrontation this week. Maybe next week that's when it starts to get a little more physical.
What? What would Mae Young think of this turn and
Uh,
this promo?
I think, what would Mae Young think of it?
She's all that
Hey,
she ever cared about is her fans, so she'd be pissed. She'd run out there and slap The Rock.
Man, yeah.
Sorry, The Rock, John Cena.
I do feel bad for the kids, man, to be honest, seeing like their expressions and like he must still be doing Make-A-Wish too. So what does he do? Does he tell the Make-A-Wish kids, "Hey, you're gonna see me on TV tonight. What I'm saying, I'm just, don't take it personally." He's gotta, I don't know, explain this stuff to them, I guess, right?
Honestly, they're probably doing a simultaneous documentary on his retirement tour because it would be a really big ratings thing for Netflix. I would be shocked if they're not doing that. And where
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
this is coming and being explained. And we'll probably get a behind the scenes doc like next year, maybe around this time, or maybe depending on how long he sticks around.
Yeah, that would be so fascinating to see. I hope they're doing that.
Okay, that's all I've got to say on Cena, and I
One
just
more one more note on that. I like that they did not play music when the performers were leaving. When Cody was leaving, when Cena was leaving, nobody's theme music played. They were just exiting, the crowd was booing and reacting to both of them. I thought that was way better and told a much better story than, doing, theme music.
I agree. I think theme music needs to be completely changed because I don't like it for run-ins either. I think
Yeah.
Raw was way better when Roman just came out last week and interrupted instead of his theme coming on. Like these theme, I complained about that with AJ's theme interrupting Logan last week when he had
Yeah.
Andrew Schultz, and it's just like it can work for really big pops and really big points. Like if you're gonna have Austin return at WrestleMania, obviously his music needs to hit. But I think taking a step back and not always doing that can it also provides more of a level of realism
Yeah,
that this is like occurring, especially with a crowd that's that hot.
for sure.
Did you watch Penta and Kaiser?
I did. Yeah.
Me too. Okay, we got another match that we both watched. Great.
So I'll give you my notes on this one first. So this was, like, I guess, the blow-off feud for Ludwig and Penta. Overall, I thought the match was okay. But, you're talking last week about obvious cooperation. Let's talk about some of the chair stuff, right? Obvious cooperation with the chair things. Before the Canadian Destroyer off the top rope, Ludwig was setting up the chair placement for that Canadian Destroyer, which I didn't love.
That
The
was
catching of
ridiculous.
the chair is ridiculous. I really like Ludwig selling that arm thing Penta does when he like goes back and like snaps the arm back. I thought he did a great job selling that. Uh, that was cool to see. The match wasn't like super no holds barred. It almost felt like just a normal match, and then the chair kind of came into play. I don't know if I like that or dislike that. I do think wrestling needs to pull back a little bit and stop being so extreme. Like even for like a no holds barred match, they wrestlers have just set the bar so high on what they do in these matches that just having one of these types of matches where just a chair's involved is actually kind of a good thing. I think it makes it, I guess, it just brings expectations down over time
Hmm.
for the crowd.
Makes things mean more.
Yeah, exactly.
If Christmas was every day, it wouldn't be any fun.
Exactly. The ending of the match, the Penta driver, it looked like Ludwig clipped his head on the
Yeah,
chair leg.
I think he got hurt for real for sure. That whole usage of the chair at the end was completely weird. All the points when it was like you're saying, the obvious cooperation they were having, it was so obvious. And then it looked like Penta accidentally did his move like on the chair himself, and then they did another move, and the chair was too close, and then Ludwig's head got clipped because you could see him after. I felt bad. That was a very bizarre sequence. I feel like kind of ruined what overall was a good match.
I like Penta, and I hate that I'm saying this, but I feel like some sloppiness is happening. That, not moving the chair out of the way when you're about to do that move, or just knowing it's there and repositioning yourself somewhere else. It's preventable. And there's been a few other things in other matches that I've seen.
I agree. I remember saying this shit at the gate. I think Chad Gable, his first match, made him look super, super good. But you know what? Like, and I'll give you more credit for this as well. Like, his entrance really is amazing. Like, the lighting coming in and out and then being filmed from super high. Like, I kind of felt like I was watching Spider Man come to the ring or
His
something like that.
presence, his look, like there was a point where he was like holding the chair in the ring, and he has a really cool look to him. There is something there. I just think that he needs to get m- more used to this environment. He didn't break in through NXT. He didn't get the, I guess like a learning period with WWE. He was thrown into Netflix right away and it debuted and started working. So got to give him the benefit of the doubt here. The ring's different than what he's used to. There's different camera angles that he's probably not used to and stuff. There's nerves there for sure. It's a much bigger audience than he's ever performed in front of. He has the capability. If you watch his older matches, like he's a great performer. I just think he needs to get comfortable.
Mm.
And it looks like they're going with, like, pushing him because now he's out of this feud. And he, at the end of the match, declared that he wants to
Well,
be fighting for the Continental Championship.
let's not jump too far into the show because he does come back. But we'll get there when we get to that segment. But that does seem like what he wants to do. I just go back to a couple things and then we can kind of go on. One, though, like repeating myself, I know that, but Ludwig needs his own entrance scene because like it is so disappointing. When I thought it was Gunther coming out again, I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
another big segment. I was like, they're really loading up this Raw, and then
Yeah.
it's this guy. And I'm just like, like it's not like good heat. It's just like I'm so annoyed now that that's happening. And then I also noticed in that match, not sure I've ever seen this before. Like Kaiser did like the Michael Myers double thumbs to the eye. Like Michael Myers, the serial killer, like pushed his thumbs in, but that was a very strange move that stood out for me overall.
Did you
But yeah,
like it or not
Penta,
like it?
I liked it because it didn't last too long and it
Hmm.
was okay, but it's like ultimately like you can't really recover from that. I just want you to think that if you just put your two thumbs in my eyes and pushed half as hard as you could for 2 seconds, how bad the damage would be.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's a bit much.
Yeah. Fair
You
enough.
got to focus on things that you could realistically recover from, and they're not used to their eyes getting attacked. So I just had a
Yeah.
flashback. Didn't Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins have an eye for an eye match in the pandemic? I'm pretty sure
Was
you can
it?
go back and find that.
It might have been. I want to say it was like Aleister Black,
Okay, maybe. But
but I
I know that you
remember,
had to win by ripping out the other opponent's eye.
or Buddy Murphy or something. Yeah, it was like. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, interesting. Anything else you
Anyway,
want to talk about on this match, or should we
no, I'm
jump
good on
in?
that match.
All right.
What's
What
the
we
next
had?
thing you watched after that? I don't have notes on what I skipped.
I
I fast
watched the
forwarded until I saw Rhea coming out.
women's contract signing.
Yeah,
This was super predictable to me. Like,
I liked
but
it.
but so super predictable, but they presented it as like they kind of knew it was predictable, which I thought was funny. So like the women are talking, yeah, there's a little bit of like tension between them, and then they both sign the contract, and Adam Pearce is like, thank goodness they signed the contract, nothing happened. All right, let's wrap this up. He's trying to wrap it up quickly, and then Rhea's music hits, and he's like, and like his reaction was just like, I don't. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was I knew Rhea was going to come in here. I knew she was going to sign her name on the contract. And at this point, I'm like, are they insulting my intelligence that like, okay, because you sign your name on a contract, it's legally binding now? I'm like, oh my
Well,
goodness. There's
the
only, but
announcers were saying that's
hold on. There's only like two spots in the contract. And then when the announcers were saying, when they were saying that that's not legally binding, she can't do that. And Adam Pearce in the backstage segment was talking about how she isn't in the match now. That put me at ease. I was like, okay, cool. It was just one of those. They're actually, in the past, they would have just added her to the match. It would have been a legally
well,
binding thing. But
they're
now
keeping the story threaded. It keeps going and building week to week.
yeah,
She kind of reminds me of, I'm going to use this loosely because you're wearing the shirt, but she kind of reminds me of like a female Stone Cold. Like I actually, and like I've been critical of the women's characters in the past, but like I really like Rhea Ripley. So like I wouldn't have watched any of that if she didn't come out, but as soon as she came out, just like everything, like her facials, the way that she interacts with, she's awesome. She's so over. She's the most over female wrestler they have times 1,000. And I like that. Like, I don't like the Io Sky stuff or whatever, but like, I like that she's continuing to be involved and that she's coming out and like, I, I, I want her to get the belt back. However, they're going to be doing that. I thought the spot with the table not breaking was a bit odd, but they've
Yeah.
been doing a lot more of that lately. The announce tables also don't break, and so like, I'm not sure if that's like an added element of realism because breaking a table is super hard. So the
Yeah.
more tables that don't break, like we were talking about earlier, when they do, it's starting to make it more special
Yeah.
because it's like it's oh wow, like she must have really like put them through there. And again, they just push Io Sky to the side, so she's just like she's nothing, like she's not a part of the feud. She's so small. I mean, she's like the size of the audience. That the other two are just completely towering over her.
Yeah, I think that kind of makes it adds an interesting dynamic to this that they are underestimating her so much. But
It's like Michaels versus Sid.
yeah, oh my gosh.
Michaels
Speaking,
versus Sid and Diesel in a triple threat.
okay, can we just pause for a second and talk about the WWE Vault channel? That YouTube channel's awesome, man. You gotta subscribe to that.
Oh, I'm sure I do. I'll check on air right now while we're going.
It just recommends like random matches. Like the other day, it had a match that I just posted. It was Sid versus Brett on Raw in the cage. And that's the one where like Taker and Austin come down and interfere, and and Brett like cuts that promo on Vince, planting the seeds for a heel turn. The Dude Love versus Austin match. Like I know we have access to this stuff on Netflix. You can go back and find specific pay-per-views and whatnot. However, just getting like a random match out there that you totally forgot about, like Dude
Uh-huh.
Love versus Austin over the Edge. Cool, fun, interesting match, and I would never have watched it otherwise. I like,
Do they release matches that are more timely with current events? Like I
yeah,
like to
yeah,
watch historical wrestling. Like I like to watch. We talked about this before, like No Way Out in February, like old No Way Outs, and
they did that.
WrestleManias in March, and Backlashes in April.
Yeah, so they had like a bunch of elimination chamber matches and no way out matches. Like the Three Stages of Hell match, they posted up in February. And now they're posting up WrestleMania stuff. So they posted up Undertaker versus Jake the Snake at WrestleMania 8.
Yeah, those are rough ones. Those some of those old WrestleMania matches.
The Giant Gonzalez one I saw they
Yeah.
posted. As a kid, I liked that because I was like, oh, who is this naked, hairy, interesting character? Match was terrible, obviously, but it was a spectacle to watch.
hmm
And what a stupid costume looking back at it as an
Well,
adult.
he was in WCW as well. I think it was just to cover up his lack of definition. I rewatched some parts from WrestleMania 24 recently. I redid 29 and 24 and did some fast forwarding. So I know what you mean. Like there's a lot in there that you don't want to see and just being served a match. Like I watched Michaels versus Flair and Triple H, Orton, and Cena. But I had to like do a lot of work to basically get there and fast forward through a lot of stuff I didn't really want to fast forward through.
Yeah. Another interesting thing they're doing is they've taken the WCW library, created a WCW channel on YouTube, and now they're
Saw that.
posting WCW stuff. So,
Hate
I
the flow of WCW. It's so hard for me to watch. I like see the names. I'm like, this looks like a six-man tag. And then even just seeing their entrances and the announcers and how everything's laid out, I'm just like, I hate this. And I like turned it off before I could even like whatever match I was. It was like Sting and Macho Man against Hogan and someone else, and I couldn't even get to Sting's entrance. I was just like, I hate this.
Interesting. Yeah, I got into WCW when they were going out of business as a kid. So like I remember Thunder came on TBS Superstation in like the year 2000, and I maybe watched it for half a year, and then it suddenly disappeared.
Yeah,
And I was
same.
like, it's like, what happened to that wrestling show? And it was just gone because they went out of business.
Mm,
Anywho, maybe we should get back to this Raw
yeah.
episode.
Next thing I watched after this was Jey Uso.
Okay,
Was there
I don't
anything in between that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think there was anything in between. I think that was the
Oh, okay.
next thing. There might have been a segment. I don't remember. But yeah, do you want to start with this one?
What did Austin Theory do to deserve this? Like I'm confused. Like why Jey Uso needed a squash match? Why you would squash Austin Theory? Is this like Triple H sending some sort of message to Vince? or something, because it's
Imagine.
quite odd.
Yeah.
Crowd was obviously insane for his entrance, but they're insane for his entrance everywhere that he goes.
Mhm.
And it was such a short match. Like the highlight of this was his botched dive, which was like really strange. Like the botched suicide dive where he like couldn't get over the top. And then another just like sneak attack by Gunther. And this feud is just losing me. Like it's I feel like Gunther is losing momentum, and this feud is just literally Jey Uso's entrance. Like this, and this
Yeah.
leads into the next segment too, which is like Seth, which we'll talk about. But these guys that are just over from their entrances are not doing it for me, and their prominent placements in WrestleMania feuds is very frustrating.
Yeah, I tend to agree with everything there. I'm interested to know more about what's going on behind the scenes with Austin Theory, because he was such a high prospect, and now he's just feels like he's so low on the card. So this whole feud is making Gunther look weak to me now. He doesn't feel threatening anymore because he's getting like run off every week.
Uh-huh.
And that's not his character. He shouldn't be getting run off. Like he's a strong, imposing figure, or he's supposed to be. They're supposed to be building him like that. And he's running from Jey Uso. Their whole like back and forth in the ring. I was like, is this slow motion? It looked like they were practicing, like a little rehearsal of like, oh yeah, here's what we'll do. And it just looked so slow. Him like taking the belt off of him. It sucked. It was awful.
Yeah, I
It was the
agree.
same deal as last week. What are they gonna do? Like how are like
It's just going to be a 30-minute Jay entrance to open WrestleMania. Not only is it hurting Gunther, it's hurting his title. And like I felt like he was just establishing some credibility to it, because you know how I feel about Seth and how he won it, and then they gave it to Damian Priest, who was the worst with it, and then Gunther was establishing some credit to it, and now it's just like, I mean, if this match closes WrestleMania, like that's going to be ridiculous.
Gunther has to win, or
He's not
they
going to.
risk killing his momentum completely. This title is a secondary belt. Like, there's no way around it. It's not a heavyweight championship. It's like I don't like it's almost at the same level as the Intercontinental title.
I was just
Because
thinking that.
if you look at the champions, like you know, a heavyweight champion, they should be at some level, like an A player, like we were talking about. And then Braun and Gunther, they're not quite those A players yet. They're like, B plus. They're like right on the cusp. But Gunther's holding a heavyweight championship and Braun's holding the Intercontinental Championship. They feel like they're on the exact same level to me. You got to have
And a
your A
match I would love to see. I would be so amped up if it was Braun and Gunther at WrestleMania.
title versus title. Oh my goodness, that would be awesome. But we don't have that, and I'm afraid of what they're gonna do with this title going forward, and probably putting it on Jay. And I'm starting to be a little more critical of Jay's in-ring work and just how slow it looks.
Terrible. Yeah. It's like I don't blame them, because like it's a business, but it seems like they're more focused on just producing new stars than they are necessarily like producing good stories. And like I just think we're seeing too many one-sided feuds. Like I said in the past, there's just like one person in this that works, and then the rest of it doesn't really make any sense. So anyway, I thought that, yeah, bad momentum for this feud. Didn't really get it. Hated the squash match, the whole thing, the Jay botch, everything. It was just a total miss this week for the Uso and Gunther feud.
Fair enough.
Next thing I watched after that was Seth. Was there anything in between that?
Nope, I don't think so.
And I shouldn't say that I watched Seth. Sorry, I gave it about 20 seconds. His voice is so annoying that I just immediately forwarded to see if anyone was coming out, and no one was coming out, and so I just skipped it. Like I literally can't listen to this guy talk.
So Seth is put into a tough spot here, I think. So his job in this segment is to come out and tell the crowd that CM Punk and Roman Reigns are not here tonight. That is his job. And his job is to make them happy about it. So, I mean, that's got to kind of suck when you're like, all right, yeah, Seth, your segment is on tonight. You're going to cut a promo on Punk and Roman. By the way, they're not here tonight, and you got to let the crowd know. Good luck. See you later, man. Not a great spot to be in. the crowd was definitely disappointed that they weren't there. You could hear kind of like the groans when
Mhm.
yeah, they're not here tonight, but they're going to be on SmackDown on Friday, and I'm going to go on SmackDown on Friday. So they're promoting SmackDown, promoting that Punk and Reigns will be at
SmackDown must
SmackDown.
be overseas.
Is, yeah. Which is again, to your point. Now so Seth is like, well, I'm gonna show up on SmackDown, so we got a Raw guy going to SmackDown. Why is CM Punk already scheduled for SmackDown? Isn't he a Raw guy?
And I
And
thought he
like,
was coming to Scotland next Raw, so he's going to be on SmackDown. And well, if Punk and Roman are on SmackDown, I'm going to have to watch
yeah, that's
that segment.
it's kind of, it makes it, a little more interesting to watch the other shows. But yeah, again, this is a long promo, a long entrance, and it's just like, it felt like a tease to the Brussels crowd that, we're missing some big stars tonight. And I feel like it took the wind out of their sails a bit.
It made me think though. Well, the only reason I know this is because I saw on the tracker that he called out Punk and Roman, and I saw on YouTube that there was a video that said Paul Heyman said Roman will be there next week. But it made me think a little bit, and I was thinking about this because we've talked a lot about what this WrestleMania booking is going to be with Roman and Punk and Seth, and how much I don't want there to be a triple threat match, and that's true. But I was thinking about it, if they worked in some stipulations that like maybe it could work. It'd have to be like a really like high end stipulation. Like I was thinking it could even be two stipulations. Like the winner is the new number one contender, maybe for Cody or Cena, and like the loser leaves WWE. As in whoever gets pinned. Now obviously they that's probably not the case. Maybe Becky's coming back and Seth is going to take some time off, maybe like 6 months at home to stay with his kid or something like that, and that's all worked into it. Like, I don't know. Maybe Roman's going to go shoot a movie
Mm.
or something. I don't know, but like they're able to do something like that and keep it under wraps, then maybe it can really work. But just like a triple threat match because they hate each other, just like doesn't get me the least bit excited and doesn't feel cool at all.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're getting.
Oh,
It'll
you
be
don't
it.
know though. There could be a stipulation.
No, for sure. We'll see in the coming weeks what they do, how they make this triple threat match interesting. But I can't see it being one-on-one Roman Punk right now, unless Seth is going to take time off, and his time off is going to be start before WrestleMania, and maybe they write him out somehow. Maybe that happens, but everybody wants to perform at WrestleMania. I don't think Seth would want to miss that.
Or there's a tag match we're not thinking of too. But anyway, for the sake of Raw, I did not watch this because I can only listen to Seth. Seth is interacting with another star, and he wasn't. He was just talking, and I think Seth sucks. So we'll see what happens on SmackDown. I know that I'll be watching for Roman's return. Anything Roman or Punk are in, I watch.
Fair enough.
I can't say the same about Cody. I like Cody, but like I don't watch Cody even on his own. Yeah, so
Yeah,
then that leaves us with sorry.
yeah. Let's go to the main event,
Sure,
the
yeah, leaves us
IC
with the main
title match.
event.
So again, we're seeing the backstage look. Braun's coming out here. Backstage looks so cool with all the spray paint. I like the Penta Braun stare down backstage and no words exchanged. Like, it felt, I don't know, real, kind of interesting. They're like planting seeds there for, what's to come later in the show. And even Penta earlier saying that that's the belt he wants to go for. I thought that was cool. Cool stare down.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I do think it's just kind of odd that, and it's how wrestling works, but Penta was just standing in the middle of a hall doing nothing, standing by himself, talking to no one, not getting showered or changing, just standing there on the chance that Braun might happen to walk by.
Yeah, maybe he was waiting for him there. Maybe Penta never changes out of his ring gear. That's what he wears when he's leaving the building or whatever. Or maybe he was still walking to the locker room. Maybe that's a super long hallway, and then Braun was just about to get into a
Maybe,
car to drive to the ring entrance. I
maybe.
don't know.
Well, are they positioned again like I see what they're doing now. They're like more positioning title matches as main events. So like we're officially in the new era now that the main stars aren't necessarily at the end.
Yeah.
That the main event can be main stars. You don't get it often like Punk and Seth, but it's or it could be a main event, could be a talking segment if they've really worked it up. Like the return of Roman's usually the main event on SmackDown. if he's not fighting, he's talking. I mean, this one missed the mark for me. I think a lot of these ones kind of do. I didn't think that there was much to this match. I don't think that their styles gelled very well overall. You know, I brought a couple things like Finn completely missed the forearm on Braun when he like countered the spear on the outside. I thought that just looked silly. You could clearly see like there was no visible contact on them. Um, Braun's jumping from the apron to the table also kind of looks weird and looks like it hurts him just as much. The table didn't break, so it's like, okay. And like when Dom came out, like, and I said this before, I want to see Dom and Braun more than I want to see Dom and Finn.
Yeah.
Because Dom plays much more of this like slithery Weasley kind of get away from him type of thing, and Finn was like, "What are you doing out here?" And overall, like the Hurricanrana from the top, or the what are they, the Brankenstein, the Bronenstein, or the Breakerstein, or whatever it's called, is a cool move. But like, I'm not sure it's the best move for a beast like Braun. Like, I don't think it's actually like putting him over that much. I think it should be
Yeah.
saved more special for like a big match. And that obviously Braun was gonna win. I was just like, I hope they're not gonna swerve us again with the title change, because that would be so stupid. And I thought the main event kind of sucked, and then I don't know. I think they're pushed. I like Penta, but like they need another. Like, I'm not advocating for more title belts, but they just need to get their title belts under control. And this just feels like too big of a match for him to be in. I like him. I
Yeah.
like Jey Uso, but like Jey Uso and Penta should be fighting, and Gunther and Braun should be. But like once again, now they're gonna take a big star like Braun and pair him with some up and coming guy to like try to create more stars. Like, I get it, but if you're just constantly creating stars and you never give the fans this like moment to enjoy other than Cena Cody. So I don't know. I thought that it was disappointing, and I rarely get to see Braun wrestle anymore. And like, I didn't like the match, and I didn't like the closing angle. And yeah, I feel like, Raw kind of started out really high and then just like slowly dropped off.
Yeah, the match definitely left a lot to be desired. I felt like the ending of the match where Mysterio accidentally hit the rope and Finn fell down, I felt like that whole part of the match got a little bit muddy as well. Why is Mysterio just kind of hanging out on the ring apron after he does that and like waiting for Braun to hit him off? You know? And then also putting his hand up to cover a punch. I don't know. It's like he was waiting for it and then put it up. It just seemed really
Obvious cooperation.
obvious cooperation. There just seemed to be like they had choreographed this and the timing was off. And everybody was kind of waiting for everyone else to do their part in it, which made it seem a little disjointed at the end. I don't get to see Braun wrestle a lot either, and yeah, this match I guess was a little disappointing. I don't it so I was thinking like when Penta came out for the save, it's like, what are they doing with this match? Are we gonna see like, is it gonna be Penta and Braun versus Finn and Mysterio in a tag match in the next couple of weeks?
Maybe next week.
Which is going to lead to two feuds kind of splintering out, where it's Penta and Braun paired together going into WrestleMania and Finn versus Mysterio going into WrestleMania. I also agree. I thought it was weird that Penta was like closing the show here. Like it was almost like he was one of the featured stars tonight.
Mhm.
Perhaps I like that he's out of the Ludwig feud now and able to do other things, but I wasn't really expecting him to jump into the IC title scene against Braun right away. But I'm wondering if also maybe there's something else they're doing here. What if they're building? What if they're building to like a fatal four-way at WrestleMania, where they can protect Braun losing the IC title, and it's going to be like Penta, Braun, Finn, and Mysterio. I don't like that, but it's kind of almost funny in a way if they do, because they have a fatal four-way for the IC title. They have a triple threat between Roman, CM Punk, and Seth. They have a triple threat for the women's title. It seems like maybe they're trying to get so many people onto this card.
There's just going to be so much that I don't watch.
Yeah.
And that's what's disappointing. Like, overall, like, I hear what you're saying. Maybe that's the direction that they're headed with this in, but it would be nice. And things are obviously, I think they're better under Triple H than they are at Vince. but like maybe not at WrestleMania time. Like Vince goes for big matches, and like I'm not feeling like right now there's any big match like other than Cena Cody, which is a huge match, clearly headlining night number two, which is my whole point about how night number one is not real WrestleMania, because real WrestleMania is all about the one main event, which is Cody versus Cena, which is night number two.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, we'll see, but I feel like, and I could be wrong, like WrestleMania is really not building up towards a card that I'm like super interested in. It just feels like another PLE that's on two nights, and obviously, I'm not going to miss Cena Cody, and there's nothing else at this point I'm really looking forward to. Like even like I said, like that triple threat match doesn't really like mean anything to me, like Roman and Seth and
Yeah.
Punk, and I don't really care about Gunther and Jay. And then I guess there's Orton and Owens, and it's just like those are all supposed to be. I don't know. What do you? I feel like it's just there's just not a lot going on for WrestleMania.
Not yet. There's still time to build. So hopefully they can create some more interest in it. I mean, they do. It's funny, like, years ago you would know the card so early on. Like for WrestleMania, you would see where they're going with things. But now it's like the week before WrestleMania, we could see another match added or something changed or a stipulation added. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops and if they can make an event that we want to watch at least 80% of the matches.
I feel like I remember last year, like the matches being announced pretty far in advance because but I
Hmm.
could, and I can remember being like, night one looks awful.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
thought night two looked amazing. And I felt that when I watched them both as well. I was just like, yeah, night one was just filled with non-star, terrible matches. I'd be so disappointed if I was at this event live.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a ticket buyer, you just got to buy for night two. If you can only go to one night, go to night two.
Of course, you have to. That's real WrestleMania. So anyway, overall, like, I think that this was another missed episode of Raw. I enjoyed watching it more because I was more in control of fast forwarding and the timing of when it was live, but not a lot for me in there. I liked Rhea's segment. I liked, I know, I didn't even like Cena and Rhodes. It's just like I'd give this like another half sandbag. It was a shitty episode again, and I'm just not feeling it leading up to WrestleMania. Like there's nothing I'm excited about.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a great episode by any means, but I don't think I have as negative of a sentiment as you. I mean, I watched most of it this week. I'm living the bachelor life this week, so I was able to watch most
Yeah.
of it. There were definitely some missed segments and not a ton of quality wrestling on the show.
Yeah, I just fast forwarded.
They were asking about what you thought about Undertaker doing old school as a move. That's obvious cooperation?
That is definitely obvious cooperation, but as a kid, I was blinded to seeing that for sure. And then as you move forward into being an adult, you look past it because you grew up with it. But that viewer is 100% correct. That is clearly obvious cooperation and ridiculous for anyone taking that seriously. And in hindsight, I feel like that was a foolish move that he was delivering.
Yeah, it's, I guess, a spectacle to see him walk along the top rope, such a big guy.
I'll have to go back and answer that. I
Yeah.
haven't been doing a good job of keeping up with the comments. That was on a short, you said?
Yeah, it was on the short last week that was talking about Dragon Lee's pencil dive move.
Yeah, yeah. The one that I liked, but still was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I like for Dragon Lee's move, I can kind of see if like the guy's struggling to like get up. Maybe you could do that move. Like maybe they're trying to unlock their legs or something. The Undertaker one, I mean, maybe you could give it a pass because of his character. Maybe he has the person in some sort of trance almost.
All you have to do is just fall with your weight backwards to inflict damage on him,
Yeah,
or just
exactly.
run towards the ropes. So the viewer is absolutely correct. That might be the worst case of obvious cooperation of all time.
Yeah, interesting. Anything else? Overall, the sandbag rating for this show, are we doing out of 5? I forget.
Up to 5 sandbags, yeah.
Up to 5 sandbags. I'd still give it like, trying to be conservative with my bags here, so maybe like, 2.75 sandbags.
All right, I won't give it a half sandbag. I forgot to. I thought maybe we were only giving 2 sandbags. So I mean,
2 would
I'll
make
give it
sense.
I'll give it 1.5 sandbags. But add in a real main event and like maybe a middle, and maybe like Punk or Roman with Rollins, and then I would have given it a lot more.
Yeah, fair enough. All
So
right,
we'll
well,
see. We might have to talk about some SmackDown next week if
I know.
these stars are all showing up. But it just seems like now everyone's going everywhere, so it's going to make for more viewing. But luckily, in Canada, we get all of it on Netflix, so it'll make it easy peasy. And then every time I'm watching SmackDown, I get to see a Samoan Werewolf, so I'll be excited to see Fatu at least. Saw him
Yeah, fair
destroy
enough.
Braun last week, so yeah, that's all. That's all I have. I'm good to go, and we'll see what happens in the WWE universe in the next week or so before we're back here in our usual time.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next week.